Hey, hello, welcome back, everybody. What can I say? Crackers. The Amanda episode number 3, Amanda Winowski, hypnotherapist. That episode has just gone storming out of the blocks, and we've had so much lovely correspondence through the socials and through messages and emails and people reaching out and people reaching to each other and sharing the episode to people in need. I think we're all in need of a sensible talking to from someone who's been through the gears. So really overwhelmed with that. So that was amazing. This week we are going to meet Kieron from Go Deep Floatation, our sponsors. So once again, we are brought to you by Go Deep Floatation. Kieron's going to obviously give you a big insight as how it all works, and I've been banging on about it because it's something that I believe is just a magical experience that we should all try and access, especially now it's becoming more and more of an available action for us. GoDeepFlotation.com. Contact those guys, give them the code word CHEW, they'll give you 10% off a float, they'll greet you, they'll meet you, they'll hug you, they'll guide you, and they'll give you 60 minutes of you time that you've never ever experienced in your life. You can't even begin to imagine it, and it's so simple. You just sit in that warm, salty water, 600 kilograms or so of Epsom salts in around 11 inches of warm water in a beautiful kind of jacuzzi-like bath with a lid on it with a nice soft LED lighting. And this kind of, I think Kieron's kind of using this kind of almost... it's like a really soft electronic kind of spacey, drifty kind of audio that you have on for 10 minutes when you get into the tank and you drift away and the water is heated to skim temperature. And after about 10 minutes when the audio cuts out and you've started to relax and you realise that you can't feel where your body ends and the water begins, and you're just literally floating through the galaxy of your mind. And it's a beautiful, wonderful thing, and you really benefit physically, psychologically. It's endless. You know, if in these intros or listening to this podcast, it's prick your ears up, do a Google, find out, and find a Go Deep near you, GoDeepFlotation.com. It is wonderful. I am blessed to also say to you this week, we're brought to you by a second sponsor, and it is the wonderful Cryolab. lincolncryolab.co.uk. So, listeners of this podcast, long-time listeners, if I can say that, who've been listening for a whole 3 episodes. The first 2 episodes was with Mr. Matthew Frost, the owner and founder of Function First Martial Arts Academy. The academy also hosts Lincolnshire Cryotherapy, supercharged recovery from injury or training. Get back to training or to work fast. Improve your personal best from tennis, golf or running to weightlifting and martial arts. Whether you're competing or just training for well-being and fun, cryotherapy can improve your sleep, your mood, huge mood elevation while reducing anxiety and stress. There's no gap now between elite athletes that have been synonymous with this and ourselves, because it's there for us to use. Athletes are using Matthew's facility, travelling across the Midlands to get to the Lincolnshire Cryo Lab. So we can get there. It's on Dixon Street, Lincoln, at Function First Martial Arts. If you use the code word CHEW, you can get 10% off. And I promise you, you're going to blow your mind. 3 minutes stood in this thing, and you will have to bite down because it's a strange experience. It's not cold, as you know, cold. It's not anything you can liken it to, because I guess most people living in our country, in England, we think of the cold, some blowy, wet January day, as Matt has said in the past on a previous episode. But this thing's like something else. It's a really wonderful feeling, and when you come out, you really do get or I have done on 2 occasions now, a huge endorphin, dopamine rush. It's kind of weird. You're full of energy, but also you feel like you need to just lay down and let your body relax. It's amazing. So we are brought to you by Lincolnshire Cryotherapy. 10% off with the code word CHEW. And you can find them at lincolncryolab.co.uk. Give them a call. book your first cryo session. I need to say a huge thank you to all the listeners. America and Australia, what's happening? What is happening? We got listeners, as I mentioned previously, California is popping. I don't know what is going on there, but we've got some things we really didn't expect, like Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Maine. It's crazy. And as for Australia, Queensland, I don't know what is happening in Queensland, but if you're listening in Queensland right now, which a load of you are, big hello from little old England. Thank you very much, everybody. If you do like this, if you enjoy this podcast, we say it every week, but it means everything. Share it with a friend, send the link. It really does make all the difference on the socials. Comment, like, retweet, all those usual things. That makes such an impact. So thank you very much. Okay, then on with the episode. Today we're going to bring in Kieron Rattigan. He's a really warm, lovely soul, and you're gonna feel his warmth. He's so sweet and such a lovely guy. And I want to do something this week with this episode because Kieron's a musician, and as his story unfolds, he talks of the things that he's done within music and the bands he's been in, and how music's been a constant for him therapeutically and creatively, and an outlet. Something to access, amongst the chaos of trying to be a human. And he's got a few demos, a few songs, and one of them I want to play today because it shows a side of Kieron that I was quite taken with, actually, when I heard it, because he's so sweet, as you're going to hear in this podcast. And this track, which is called Now, has got a real kick to it, and you can hear all of the different musical styles that Kieron's played over the years. You can hear them all amalgamated, and he plays everything in here. He's produced this, he's mixed this, he's played the drums, he's played the guitars, the bass. He's a polymath of music. I've picked this one personally because I think it just epitomises so much stuff that I really like as well. I mean, there's in the lyrics here, there's Egypt and people like John Dee, who spent time in our fair land, in Lebanon, which I was fascinated to find out, and I know Kieron was as well as, alchemy and ancient magicians, and he even gives a shout to the McKennas. So anybody who knows of Terence McKenna in particular, I would imagine, or Dennis, his brother, two very famous academics who kind of bent the rules with psychedelics, sort of took the baton from the likes of Ram Dass and Timothy Leary, both ethnoboticists, I guess. But one of the lyrics that stands out, you can hear. He says, "I've been with the McKennas getting lost." They famously went down to the Amazon looking for DMT and ended up finding mushrooms and had a very, very, very vivid time, which you can look up on Google if you're interested in that kind of thing. But this tune's got so much magic in it, and it's got a lot of energy and edge. So this is the track. It's called Now by Kieron Rattigan. Okay, without further ado, episode number 4 of the Chew the Chat podcast with Kieron Rattigan.
We have a very interesting subject this morning. The study of magnetism can be traced back to Egypt. And the staff and wand of the ancient priests were instruments of magnetic conjuring.
Magicians roving minds assemble, transcendence of time. I've been with John Dee, cooking up some alchemy. Undrawn were those that thought that the stars are not ahead when the sun's but from afar. You know I can't believe it.
to Chew the Chat podcast.
Okay, here we are. We're on.
We're live.
We are. We are in Go Deep Floatation Centre. I'm with today's guest, Kieron Rattigan. How you doing, Kieron?
Hi, Sam. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for coming.
No, thank you for giving us your time. It's fantastic. I've obviously just come out of a 90-minute float.
You have. And you've been quite a few times, actually.
I have, yeah. And I'm currently... I've got that universal glow that you get when you come out of there.
Yeah, that oceanic.
Especially in the setting that you've provided here. I mean, it's fantastic. We're currently sat... What would you call this room? Is this the Reiki?
Yeah, I'd say this is like the reception area.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the pre-post float place. You can relax. It's quite minimal, very plain. Yeah, and it's really nice that we've kind of turned this into a studio, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely. We've got the lovely salt lamp, the nice lighting, the resonance of the float. Yeah, it is. It's really the ambiance. It's lovely. No, and thank you so much for putting this together. And that's, I guess, what I want to get at today. Really is.
Yeah. Amazing.
How did you arrive at Go Deep? And you've got a.
Yeah, I mean. Well, when did it start?
Well, we like to go back. This is. I guess I should give you a quick insight. It's because this podcast is brand new.
Okay.
Chew the Chat podcast, and what I'm, I guess, fascinated by is like stories, journeys, where it all begins. So for you, I guess, let's take it back. Let's go back to what was it like? What was childhood like? Where were you? How was it? And what shaped you?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Waddington in Lincoln, not far away from where we are. Born and raised, really, really happy upbringing. Great parents, super loving. Mum was amazing. Dad worked hard. I was always really, really theatrical as a child. My mum was an opera singer, so she was always practicing in the dining room, and it really gave me a burst of...
God, yeah, that's some power. I mean, I never really thought about it in that way.
Oh man, it was huge. I mean, I think when I was younger, I remember the first time, I must have been about 4, but I realised sound can move things.
Literally.
Yeah, man, because I'd be watching the TV and she'd come in and close the double doors, join the dining room, and she would give me that look of like, it's going to get loud. And I'd be like, oh, for God's sake, because I'd hate it. I didn't hate it really. But yeah, when she'd hit like a crescendo note, whatever she was singing, Pirates of Penzance or Carmen or anything.
Wow.
The glass would vibrate, and she'd be, 5 meters across the room. And I remember looking across to the left of me and like seeing the glass shake and thinking, man, music moves things.
So your mum was an opera singer then. So how does that gig come around? I mean, is there a lineage in the family? I mean, is there?
I think she was always. It started with my mum, as far as I can work out. My granddad was always very musical. And I think really introduced her to essentially what we were talking about with your children and our child as well. It was there. The guitar was there in the house.
Okay, yeah. So pre-podcast we were just discussing your new boy and our kids. Yeah, and I guess music, instruments, and music being around in the environment.
Definitely, and she really took a shine to like the arts and singing, playing guitar as well. And I think when she was 16, I think when the Queen came to open up. The Queen came to Cathedral and she actually played to the Queen. She was selected by Branston College to play to the Queen, so she played a cover and one of her own songs. And she was always doing work at the Theatre Royal. She could have gone really serious with it. She was really classically trained and everything, but she wanted to have kids. Yeah. And she never let up about that being an issue, but she always kind of made it...
The priority was sort of... Kids. Do you think overriding, to be with her kids?
Yeah, she loved it, definitely. But she still always made a lot of time for herself and acting, and that leads me on to say, like, when I was a child, I was very I was very extrovert, and I was very theatrical, loud. Didn't know when to stop talking. Would always interrupt people, and that led on into my teenage life. I didn't really know what silence was, if I was honest. And as you kind of progress in a spiritual journey, if that is the avenue that you take, you learn to realise that silence is golden. And that's one of the things that I get out from the tank as well. It really reminded me, my first float was how much I fucking talked.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, I'm certainly guilty of that as I sit here striking up a podcast. So a great first guest, Kieron.
No, it's great. No, but so I mean, really got into mindfulness. I don't know, I think it was when I had a bit of not a midlife crisis, because I think I was 23. And I was just feeling a change within me around 2012. Yeah.
I
didn't know what it was at the time, really.
Yeah.
I wasn't reading anything. I was quite arrogant, I think, ignorant in any sort of delve into the mind or anything. I was all very much, it's out here that's important. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like then, coming back to your mum singing and having that kind of, that coloured environment, that kind of creative environment, do you think that set you up for that kind of openness in a way, as you've matured? Definitely. As you've gotten older, an ability to, like you say, you're listening to yourself talk, but you've gotten to a point where you've recognised that, and you keep progressing into silence in a time to the point where you set up a business. But with take us back to your mum. Your dad, you said your dad was hardworking.
Yeah, he's a mechanic. He's got his own business. He's been a mechanic for years, to be fair, ever since I can remember. And yeah, my mum worked. She was a stay-at-home mum as well. When we were growing up, when she had a second child, she wanted to be at home more of the time, and did productions as well. And then, when I was about 10 or 11, mum and dad got divorced. And in the span of things, it's they did it in such an amazing way. At the time, as a child, you don't really realise anyway, but now I can kind of really reflect on how it all went. It was really, they did it in such a
amicable way.
Yeah, really, they kept it all under wraps, and there were times where
pain's pain, Kieron, isn't it? I mean, pain's pain, but if you can, if they've had the wherewithal to recognise. Brothers and sisters?
Yes, got two sisters.
Two sisters.
Yeah,
so,
I'm the middle one.
And you're the middle. So so three young kids. And as we know now as adults, when you are in the swing of your own pain, you're falling out with your partner or whoever it may be. We do lose sight of the peripheral impact sometimes, because that's our ego dealing with the self, isn't it? So
definitely.
No, that's really cool to hear that your mum and dad, even in a difficult situation, the most difficult situation.
It was hard still. It was weird, and it does mess you up a little bit when you get older as well. No matter how nice it's done.
Yes.
A lot of my close friends, parents were together. They had a very wholesome family, and not to say that mine wasn't wholesome, but the foundations of such were shook quite a bit, and you end up having two step parents, two other families, and in a way it's beautiful. But you do always look back to that, them old memories of just like, wonder if it could have stayed of that structure. I wonder how would have things been or been.
So you're sort of 10, 11 around the time when the family breaks up.
Yeah.
And then what happens there, Kieron? What's the dynamic from there?
That's when I really got into music. I was starting secondary school, so kind of threw myself into drama and music.
Still talking, now singing.
Yeah, still on it. I mean, I haven't reached it. I haven't reached the peak yet. Yeah, I mean, I really got into playing. I played bass in a band, and basically my auntie's next door neighbour had a son, and he was looking for a bass player. I didn't know the guy. I just turned up on his doorstep on a Saturday morning with my tiny little custom amp and my bass guitar that I couldn't really play because I was quite a handy man. I thought I could just learn to play bass. 'Cause,
on the hop, ad hoc.
and just met him. His name was Sebastian Zieler.
That's a great name, by the way. Big shout out, Sebastian Zieler.
Oh man, yeah, I mean, to be fair, I haven't spoken to him for years. He lives in Copenhagen now, and he's a great. He founded the Big Oil recording company, and he's in a solo project called TikTok. It's really innovative music. But he was really inspiring to me, and he was a few years older than me. So this first band I got into, I was 11, and they were about 15, 16.
Wow.
So they were talking about things on Saturday at practice that I just couldn't relate to.
But isn't it interesting, because coming back to the environment you talked about with your mum, you know, it's going to get loud and singing and kind of providing that colourful kind of confident environment, I guess.
Definitely.
You know, at 11 years old, I mean, and you hear this time and time again with any kind of story. I don't want to use the word success, but any kind of story where somebody is determined to get to wherever they've thrown their spot. You know, you're turning up on the door at 11 years old with your bass that you're just thinking, right, I'll play this, I'll make this up on the hop. I just want to get in here and I want to make some noise. And these boys are older, innit? 11, 16-year-old boys are like men, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, when we'd have pizza on a Saturday, it was turned into a ritual. Every Saturday we'd have pizza. But the sort of talks they were having were like blooming puberty moments. You know, I was just getting like having my first kiss and like just stuff like that. I was really at my depth. But yeah, really, really jumped into writing music with them, and just kind of keeping busy really, and learning that to kind of champion and cherish expression, outward expression. So I would do a lot of drama workshops outside of school as well. And then I think it was year 8 or 9. I did Bugsy Malone at school. I was Bugsy Malone.
You lead. Nice. They recognised the talent and the confidence.
It was great. It was great. So I really did. I think I kind of mirrored my mum in a sense, because, you know, she would be out kind of rehearsing maybe twice a week till 7, 8. Well, going out and not coming back till about 10, and really rehearsing a lot. And I would understand that practice is important. So that I've never really.
Huge lesson.
Yeah.
Huge lesson. Because that's the boring bit, essentially, isn't it? The repetition.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we all get a little bit stuck, you know.
Definitely.
But I think it proves time and time again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You put those hours in.
Definitely.
That's interesting to know then. So she's really sort of affected you in a discipline sense as well then.
Yeah, definitely. And she went on to become, she was a wedding singer as well in her later years, up until a few years ago. And she always supported me such a beautiful way with the music and creation. She was always at the gigs talking about the music, just doing what every great mum does, and just give you a hug and just tell you the best.
Yeah.
You know?
Infused and connected.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
So yeah, a lot of my inspiration is definitely drawn from her.
Yeah, that's
for
really,
sure.
Yeah, and then discipline as well. That's interesting, you know. You know, so you got the fun and you got the ethic as well. There's some ethic in there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting it done. So where does it go from this first band? What was that band called, by the way?
Oh God, Contraventum.
Contraventum. Wow.
Danish. I think it means. Sebastian always used to say. I never knew what it meant. I think it means pissing against the wind or something like that in Danish. So yeah, I was in that band when I was young till, I don't know, I think I was about 14. So I was with them for about 3 years.
Oh, so you hung in there then. You learned to play the bass in that time, I take it.
I learned to harmonise as well. And I always struggled. I learned to kind of, well, just be in a band really. It's quite intimidating, like you say, with the older chaps, but learn how the motions work and how dynamics work and how people fall out and how people got vision and know when to step back. I mean, me with being a young lad, I would just let everyone talk and just, can we start the song, guys? You know, It was always like that, and there'd be such politics going on. At an early age, I kind of saw.
I bet you reaped a lot from that, though. Going back to your Monday morning with your 11, 12, 13-year-old friends, you've sort of come in with a weekend or a, you know, a kind of, you've been on some kind of an educational,
I think so, yeah,
in a way, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Been exposed to that.
I mean, my mates would just take the piss, I think, at the time. They'd all be playing on their PlayStation like, Contraventum, with Seb and Mark, cool. And It was all in. I didn't really know what we were doing, and you don't really. But then I got to about 15. Was I 14 or 15? And a guy who sat behind me in my maths class. We kind of started getting on well together. I say this because he was a guitar player. I was a guitar player in the year. And he learned Metallica 1 solo over the summer. So I was like, shit.
Yeah. Wow.
This guy can play guitar really well. And I think I was like year 8 or 9. And he was in a metal band, starting a metal rock band. No, it wasn't actually. He was starting a band with his mate Ben. And he said to me, we want you to come and be the lead vocalist. Do you write? And I was like, yeah, I do write actually. This is great. Come over and have a practice. So I was like, this is great because it's the first time in my life I can actually write my own songs. I mean, I did take a couple of songs to the guys, but they were always really nice about it. But like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Anyway, this is what we're really doing.
Yes.
But yeah, so I kind of left them and joined this band, this 3-piece, and really started putting myself into it. And we did a good EP, I think, when I was 15. Yeah. But
what year is that then? When you're 15, Kieron?
Oh God, I'm trying to work it out now. I haven't thought about this in a long time. 10.
Right.
Maybe it's younger actually. So it was about year 9 actually that I joined them, and they were called the Absent Minded.
Right.
And then they sat down with me about 2 months after, and I thought everything was roses and it was going really well. And they went, "You've brought too much of your old band with you." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, what does that mean? You know, it's a bit too light. We want to go metal." So I was like,
okay.
I mean, 'cause the original band was very light, like it was very, really
Scandinavian.
Yeah,
good melody and
beautiful melody. Yeah. They were really good writers. They really thought about it. But yeah, they went, "Oh, we want to go metal," and Trivium had just come out. With Pull Harder on the Strings and Bullet for My Valentine.
Right, okay.
Coming on the scene.
Makes sense.
All that scene. And then I kind of segued into like a little, well, I say a little, but I'm in a good 4 or 5 year spat of being the front man of a metal band and learning to scream and learning to...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like learning to do that. And I really, really soaked it up, and it really helped with your hormones when you're a kid. When you hit back 50,
release.
Yeah, you need it, and it's primal. I used to love it at the Biv every week. You know,
the Biv being the Bivouac in Duke Wellington.
Yeah. Used to love it there every week, and there was something so primal that really, really spoke to me. And, just jumping around, moshing. I really connected with it, and I thought it was a really good outlet to have. And at the time, even when I was, like I say, 16, like it felt good. It just felt good. There was a lot of angst to get out, and as a young man, it's just a lot that you need to get out. So that kind of facilitated that really well, actually. And that kind of finished when I was about 18.
And were you still writing? Were you writing for the metal band? Yeah,
I was writing a lot of lyrics. If I'm honest, the guitarist just kind of ripped off a lot of songs.
Right. Okay.
And for me, creativity is not being inspired by. It sounds really ridiculous, and it probably doesn't make sense. But for me, being creative it isn't being inspired by your artist. That you shouldn't sound like who you listen to. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, although when you are, in those formative years, I mean, it just seems to be part of the well-worn path is you sort of slip into the shoes of your idol.
Definitely.
And you try and emulate that, and you. It's certainly how it was for me, anyway.
Yeah.
And then I think you at some point you realise, oh no, I got to.
Yeah, it took me a while actually.
Until
I was in my 20s, that I was like, oh, that's how you do it. But they were writing like just kind of like ripping off Bullet for My Valentine riffs and like serious triple picking, and I'd never done anything like that. And he'd be like, play this. This is the verse. You can sing over this and play guitar. And I was like,
wow, yeah. Well, it is so technical, isn't it? I mean.
I'm not technical, really.
Wow.
But,
so how do you move on from that band then? Is that a case of you start your own thing, or what happens?
No, yeah, I mean, the guitarist went to uni when he was 18, to Leeds, and it just kind of fizzled out. And then I met my best friend now, who's Matt Wilford, and he was actually bassist in this band actually for about a year prior. But I became really, really tight with my best friend now, Matt, and I kind of just jumped off playing music. Actually, I kind of met a new group of friends.
Had a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Started to soften up a bit.
Yeah.
After my later years, started to kind of, smoke a bit.
Yeah.
First started smoking then.
Changes the pace.
It changes the pace, changed my music taste, changed me, really softened me up, really looking back, maybe too loose. You are. You meet a great group of friends and it kind of trailed off from that really. I still did projects in like here and there. Me and Matt did a little project together, but nothing ever that serious. I left a big bit back out actually.
Okay.
I was with Matt, and we were he was recording a band in Highcombe, just a makeshift setup. He was like, we just had his Mac and just an interface, and our friends Jason Belton had written this song and a bungalow down in Highcombe somewhere, and Matt said, "Oh, I'm going to go record," and I was like, "I'll come with you and help." Just set up stuff and just do a track. It's programming drums and just doing guitar takes and really, really like home cooked stuff. But this song that they recorded, they didn't have a drummer at the time, so I did all the shakers for this track that they did. And it was a band that I eventually joined. Well, after that night, we'd listened to the single was done. And it was great. It was completely different. It was like kind of like Americana cowboy feel. It was a band called Midnight High.
Midnight High, that's what you were called?
Yeah.
We've missed a vital thing. What was the metal band called?
The Absent Minded.
That's not bad. The Absent Minded. and then this new one's called
Midnight High.
Midnight High. I think I remember seeing that on.
You might have. We did do quite a bit. We did tour quite a bit.
Right.
And this was. I'm trying to think of what it was now. About 8 years ago now. So I was 22. So a few year gap, and then did this and started drumming. I've always been a handyman, really. I've never excelled in anything. Like I've always just fancied doing anything. I think that stems back to my mum as well.
Yeah, not being scared to sort of have a go at something and explore it. And
definitely.
You've probably got an attention span that needs the next thing, I would imagine as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I started drumming in that band and just fell in love with drumming really, and drumming and singing at the same time. I really loved the feeling it gave me.
Did you find that a difficult thing to learn?
Yeah,
because
really, what's great is it's like anything in a way is you need to disconnect completely. You can't think at all, because you just go to a place in your head where you're not here, and you can do it. But the second you put, it's like anything though. The second you pull yourself back in, you've missed a beat, you've dropped a note. There was some sort of disconnection, kind of in a way, maybe like what you get in the tank. And
I was just thinking the same thing. That kind of Zen state in a way. Zen always sounds a little bit piffy, but the fact that is that you drive. You're in a Zen state when you're driving half the time, aren't you? Yeah. You're in a position of automatically doing what you're doing without thinking about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting that you say that, because
I think that's what it was. Because then moments in the tank, you get pockets of nothing, and your mind isn't there, but you're there.
Yeah. And
it was similar. Now I think about it, it was like that.
Because drumming, there's so much going on. You've got your kicks, and you've got your.
It was hard. It was simple harmonies. I wasn't like the lead singer. Jace, who was the lead singer, had a great voice, and we just did backup singing, and but it was great. I loved it. It was such a release. And again, it was like playing metal and doing this in kind of like an Americana indie rock and roll band. I still got the same release from it, because drumming's exhausting, and I love.
That's a big. It's a. How does it feel the first night when you start playing the Americana kind of stuff from the metal stuff?
Well, because I had a gap. Because I had probably about a 4-year gap.
That long?
Probably, yeah. I was just sitting on the common smoking, playing my acoustic guitar for years. Do you know what I mean? Just like
Were you writing anything in that time? Were you recording anything, even on paper? No?
Not really.
Just literally playing it for the catharsis and get it out.
Listening to music that I didn't realise, like Beatles.
Stuff that you'd written off prior, sometimes even.
Beatles, Beach Boys, stuff that is beautiful sonically.
Yeah, the blueprint of music, really. Yeah,
definitely. So that really opened that really opened me up to that, and I was like, oh my god, what are they doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a dissimilar journey to my own. In fact, that, you know, the gap and sort of meeting the different people and being introduced to the different sounds, and it's. And the gap as well. When I had a gap, when I did a bit of music when I was younger, so I found some friends, and I actually went off into kind of the rave scene. So I went completely from, you know, I started with the Beatles. The Beatles were the band that, you know, I picked up I think it was the red and blue vinyls.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, and sort of got into those, and then and similar thing, a couple of bands, and then my gap at around. God, what I would have been around 20, I think, 19, 20, I think, when I called it. And I just met some friends and got really into just going off and clubbing and going all around the country to different, you know, electronic clubs and
free parties
as well. Just that whole vibe, and, you know, a guitar or writing things down just didn't come to me for a long time. So how long do you do it for then in
this Midnight High band?
Well, you said before you're doing touring and some stuff starts happening, so it's more serious than ever.
This was more serious. This was good, and it kind of I forgot to say, you know, during them gap years as well, I kind of luckily got a job working for Live Nation. A friend of a friend managed to hook me up.
Wow,
friend of a friend, family member.
That must have some impact then.
It was great. It was really, it was fantastic to kind of learn the music scene. And
how old are you at this point then?
21.
So you're 21. You're in your most, well, you're in between bands.
Yeah, it's that gap. That was the gap.
But you find yourself working, I guess.
Yeah,
with some.
I got some quite big artists, which was amazing. It was. I was really lucky just to see, because, you know, like, as a promoter rep, you're representing the promotion, like Live Nation, but you're the middleman between the venue and the crew, and you need to make sure everything goes well. You're doing the settlements, paying everyone, making sure the books are balancing at the end of the night, and just making sure everything's going dandy. Yeah, so it was a really, really amazing experience.
Who would you have worked with then? Give us some.
First one, I was shadowing a rep, so that was I jumped straight in on a Kasabian tour, arena tour. So that was nuts. Yeah. It was just wild. It was just absolutely wild. I think I did in total probably about 20 dates with them. But I was only shadowing like a rep at the time, not really getting paid, just learning about it really.
Well, that's great. What an experience to get behind the curtain.
Well, that was it. And then I started kind of repping, my 21st birthday, that's when Elle Goulding's song Starry Eyed reached #1.
Oh, wow.
And I got 3 dates on her tour, because sometimes promoters would chop up a UK tour, just I don't know why they do it, but they don't only have like the Newcastle show, the London show and Manchester show.
Okay.
But did the Manchester show for Elle Goulding, and did a Devlin show, the rapper.
Wow,
Devlin.
I remember Devlin.
He did show in Underworld in London, and Ed Sheeran supported, and that was before no one knew who he was. It was really weird.
And did you watch him? Did you?
Yeah, I paid him 50 quid.
Did you?
Yeah, it was really weird. I didn't pay him, like Live Nation did, but he was allocated 50 quid for the evening. Like, he played, I think we messed up with door timings, because people were still queuing and he was about to come on. It was a bit too close. And I was a bit like, whoa. But it was before really. And
did you watch Ed Sheeran play that night? And what did you think? Did you look at him and think, wow, there's a thing here, or was it just...
He had a big buzz. There was the crowd were really buzzed to see him, and I guess London being the forefront of the epicenter of buzz, as it always been throughout the years. It was something that I got from the crowd, definitely. At the time, I was like, he's good. Do you know what I mean?
Was he doing the looping thing? And
not so much, I don't think. I mean, to be fair, I didn't watch the whole set, because I was running around a little bit. But I did watch it, made sure it started, and he was a really nice guy. Yeah, really, really sound guy. And then the year later, that's when I was with Midnight High. And I kind of organised the tour because I'd had this experience.
That was my next sort of point, is that
Yeah.
you must have gleaned some, number one, amazing experience, but number two, contacts, connecting dots,
Definitely.
recognition of what the pattern should be. How do you approach it?
Yeah, definitely. How do you approach it? I mean, unfortunately, the contacts I did make, I didn't really want to use afterwards because it was kind of like an old relationships. Her uncle,
that's interesting,
worked at the Live Nation,
Right,
and
okay.
as that relationship ended, I was lucky to still get shows for a year or two, and it ran its course.
Okay.
And I just was very humble and peaceful about the whole situation. Just, it kind of finished and rounded up, and I wasn't bitter. I understood, it makes sense. But yeah, it really gave me a great look into the industry and how to approach things and how to just orchestrate a show, really, and how things kind of work, and also how.
What about your belief in your music then? So, did you kind of, being around, for instance, Kasabian on a 20-day arena tour? Forget the genre, but do you ever think, God, we're good enough, we can do this, we can hang here, we could do this, or is it, God, we need to be better, I need to do more, or how does that affect you?
For me, when I was doing the Kasabian tour, I wasn't in the band, it was within that gap.
Okay.
So I wasn't really even thinking about me writing music. I kind of hung it up for a while. I was like, oh, this is good. I wanted to be a music producer. I wanted, even though I didn't really know what that meant, but I wanted to do that. I was always directed to music. But it was really inspiring. Like you see any live music and you watch a crowd and it just fuels you up and it's amazing. And you watch them come off stage and they're just pumped. It's amazing. But no, I didn't really think about my own music or anything. But when we kind of started Midnight High, when the guys started Midnight High and I luckily just jumped on as the drummer, they knew about my background and I could book shows and we got some pretty good support slots. But I did try and get an Ed Sheeran support at Norwich UEA the year after when he was pretty big, and like the manager just didn't even reply to me.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I was like, that's fair enough.
Well, you've got to
try.
You've got to. Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't shoot, you don't score, do you?
No, definitely. But
so, what kind of support gigs did you manage to pull off then with your newfound skills?
Let me think. I'm completely blank now.
We're going back to the rock and roll years.
Yeah,
it's just a blur.
It was a blur, to be honest. A band called Midnight High. It's not good.
I was going to say, what kind of demeanour did the band have collectively in the rock and roll sense? Was it rock and roll? Was it messy? Was it drink and late nights? And
it was Jace.
Were you pretty disciplined?
Yeah, I was the most disciplined. Lucas, the bass player, we were both quite disciplined. Belton and Jace, they wanted to be like the Libertines.
Okay.
And they'd get fucking wasted. And I'll be at Scala in London. We supported oh God, what's his name? Libertines guy. What's his name?
Pete Ducky, Carl Barrett.
Carl Barrett. We supported him at Scala.
Did you really? What year is that?
Oh God. But this was a con. I'll get into that. This was 2000. Oh God. I'm so bad. I should have really had this written down. 7, 8 years ago. So like 2013, 2012.
Well, before you go any further on that, we actually played Scala with one of the bands that I was in, and a promoter.
Was it Pay to Play?
Yeah,
was it that?
That's what it became. Yeah, I forget the guy. The promoter was called Mark. Somebody.
Might have been Mark. I can't know if it's Hot
We
Box.
were really sold a right one down the river.
Was
really.
it 50? You need to sell 50 tickets.
Yeah, we had to sell a load of tickets.
It might have been
Maccabees. It was. We did do a Carl Barrett one.
We might have been there.
We did do a Carl Barrett one, and we did a Maccabees one as well.
Okay.
But whether or not it was, I think the Maccabees was the Scala one we did.
Yeah.
Carl Barrett was somewhere else. It was a London gig. But yeah, it was that whole gig of, here's 50, they sold us
you're playing
a great
Scala,
idea.
And then they play in the upstairs room.
Getting your gear up there.
Oh man, yeah, it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts.
Double bass cab. We had a big Marshall double bass cab, like a 6-foot thing. And it would get off the bus in the afternoon and it's like, what are we fucking doing?
Yeah. And you're getting all your friends from Lincoln to try and come down. You're out of pocket. Yes. You're having to pay for, oh God, and the promoter wants the money by doors.
Yeah.
Like, shit. Yeah, we were out. We lost money. So if anything, that experience at Live Nation didn't yield. It just showed me how bullshit it is for young bands trying to make it, and like the pay-to-play structure in London especially is appalling. Like if you haven't got, well, it's just hard if you haven't got a bus.
Well, and also I found with that is, and we managed to get a few buses full across the country, and it's great for a day out and a slap on the back from your friends. That's great. That's always good fun. But in a band trying to progress, trying to build a fan base, you've got to get yourself in debt and pay to play, but you're renting a crowd because you're just playing to your own crowd, because the other 5 support bands are on the same gig. They've got their fans in, so you just see the dance floor or the audience kind of interchange with each band. So the Coventry band are playing to their handful of Coventry, and do you know what I mean? And you might get a couple peripheral fans who are music people from the other followings who stick around. But I found that to be, I mean, I guess it's the game.
It's sad and it's hard.
It is, yeah.
And I think there is some people that catch a wave. I mean, we did catch a wave, I think, because we got one day I was on a holiday and Matt the guitarist rang me, and we had a few management interests and we'd met up with a few people, but they all wanted like cash injections straight away from you, or they wanted, and it sounded too good to be true.
Didn't feel good,
Didn't feel good. And I did use my contacts in Live Nation to forward it and say, is this deal any good? And they're like, run a mile from it, like it's no good.
Which is such a difficult thing for a young band, because even just having any kind of attention just feels like, fucking hell, this is something. Yeah. It's really difficult to keep.
And we did get a message one day from Island Records, which was big for us. We were like,
that's big for anyone.
Big, and they wanted us to do a showcase. Our next London show. Simon, his name was Simon. He never replied.
Simon says, come to London and play a show. I won't be there.
But he sent us just like quite, I'm Simon at Island Records. I've heard somehow he heard us. And we replied with the most stupid email, like, tell us a bit about you. And our guitarist, I was on holiday at the time, I was like, Matt, just reply, like, just...
And when you did things like that then, would you guys have any kind of rule on reply? Would it have to be sent round before it was sent?
Nope.
Would you? No?
It was
Someone's
so
pulling
stupid.
the trigger without... Yeah. Because that's really frustrating,
This is the thing, because we replied to the email, he never got back to us. Because we would just hit I think it was like, we're a rock and roll band, we'd like to get shit-faced at night. And like, no.
With the real deal, man.
Yeah, exactly that. And like, reading it back when I saw the reply. And Mike, Jace's uncle, who helped with our first recording, listened to it. He does a lot of productions in Lincolnshire. And he just read it and he was like, I can't believe he sent that email back. And we're like, oh shit. We like to get wrecked and rock and roll, man. And no industry guy wants to hear that. Because even at Live Nation, they would say to me, don't give the band the vodka until they've played. Yeah. Take the spirits off of them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
because they're doing their job at the end of the day. They've got a clock and they need to keep on schedule, and they just want it to be smooth, And don't get me wrong, the mercurial rock star, that pops up now and again, and it maybe is the thing that gets them over the line because whatever reason it seems to fit. But generally speaking, again, the younger bands who were emulating those idols. I did it myself. I'm from the Britpop era.
Sure.
We became Gallagher's because we were, the band I was in at the time was like, we were just footballing kids, similar to you. I couldn't really play anything, but I was up for just having a go.
Yeah.
And so everybody became little mini Gallagher's. We were like, yes, we're not musicians. We're just lads who play guitars and, we started smoking Benson and Edges and, just doing the whole, just doing the whole thing.
Amazing.
So you get some good supports, but you end up feeling a bit deflated because you're starting to work out that it's just a bit of a con.
Yeah, with the pay to play stuff especially. And then I think I can't remember what happened. We all just got into a bit of a dark place, like I think most bands do. We'd bailed on a festival in London the year before, and we were booked to headline the next year. I can't remember what festival it was. And they just bailed on the day when I turned up with the equipment. I think they both got from work. I'm like, I can't be asked to do it. And I was like, we let these guys down last time. We can't do that. And like, it's just not good. And then we started cancelling quite a few gigs, and it just kind of.
Did the music remain at a level, or could you feel it in the rehearsals?
Oh, it was great. I loved the music. The music was great, what we were writing. I loved it.
And playing it together, the chemistry playing it together was still there.
That's what it was. It was all about that. It was all about the chemistry. And again, with the songwriting aspect, we'd write as a band. I mean, Matt and Jace would write the core of the song, but my fun in writing and kind of what I emulate now on my own demoing, and what probably most people and you do on your own demoing, is just finding that magical unknown wave that makes your fucking chest fire up. And I used to love that. We'd catch a wave together and we'd all just look at each other, and then I'd just play a trippy beat and they'd laugh and you'd be like, yeah, and you bounce off, and
people just finding the groove and dropping on it and everything, a bit like that Zen state again. You're kind of like but together, tomunal, like that's powerful, because
it is.
It lasts for however long you manage to get it. You get around, I don't know, however many bars, and you've picked it right. You remember that loop.
Lock that
loop.
In. Yeah.
Keep that, and and then you
definitely.
That's a magical feeling.
That's what it was for me, and that was where the magic came from. And we started to kind of write just to songs that have already been written, and it was quite rigid. But for me, the magic of music and creation has always been in that unknown, being at the mic, not knowing what's about to fall out, and that always being surprised by yourself. I think that's what I really love. But and then I met my now wife Annie after Midnight High. Kind of, she was a promoter in Lincoln, and she put a couple of gigs on for us. But I met her, and then we kind of started writing together.
Wow,
which was really nice. To write with a pianist.
And so the music takes a turn to what kind of style now?
I started to get into play like big like slide guitar and quite Jack Whitey riffs, but mixed with like a piano, and just like I'd live would do it as a 2-piece with me just sitting on a bass drum and a tambourine on my left foot. So I incorporated my body being busy still. I liked that. So I play guitar and with my feet play percussion and sing. I just liked everything being engaged. And my Annie would play piano and sing, and it was a really nice little project actually. It was really nice.
So when you guys start singing, jamming together, are you friends at this point, or
Me and Annie?
Are you already sort of romantically engaging at this point?
We were already together. To be fair, the project started basically, I think, in 2012. That's when kind of I had a bit of a crisis, and I'd met Annie that year.
So the crisis, take me to the crisis. So.
The funny thing was, when you look back at things and you think it was a crisis, you realise it just was not, and everything's relative. There was no crisis. I just started to feel, excuse the woo, but really spiritual, and it was surprising me and upsetting me a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I knew I'd met someone great, and I knew that I had some stuff to sort out in myself.
Okay.
And I couldn't explain it. I remember Matt, my best friend, we were in what's now Craft, and I was having a drink with him, and I was like, I feel really spiritual, and he just pissed himself. He was just like, what the fuck do you mean? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I just feel that. I don't get it. Like,
had you read anything?
No.
Has anything triggered it in any kind of,
No, I don't know what it was. I think it was just...
How old are you at this point then? So the band's finished.
Just met Annie. Got to be careful here. This was 7 years ago. So 2003. So 24, 25.
24, 25.
It's my radiator. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's nice. There's a radiator coming on at this time of night. We are in early December.
We are
2019. So the radiator kicking in will be nice.
Sorry about that.
No, that's cool. Cool.
Yeah. So 24, 20. Yeah. 23. Sorry, 23. When I met Annie, and
and at the time, you say you had this sort of overwhelming feeling of being spiritual or some kind of awareness.
Yeah.
And it made you feel sad in a way. Did it make you feel sad in a way because did you feel like the narrative that you'd been living by was sort of a bit of a bluff? And
I was being a bit of a con. Right. I wasn't being true to me. But I didn't really know what he was. Because
are you drinking? Are you using any drugs?
Yeah. Well, this is it. I mean, the year before, took LSD. Right. That would have done it.
Of course.
Smoking quite a lot, of cannabis for a few years. just thinking, really.
Yeah.
And just
peeling back the layers, sort of the introspection
like an onion.
of it.
Introspection inside and external, just looking around and really, really trying to work out what's fucking going on. Whereas everyone's just kind of...
Well, you're 25, I mean, as well, you are...
Probably 23, actually, sorry, yeah.
So, you know, maybe a little bit earlier than the average bear, I would imagine, because it seems to me, certainly in the world that I move in, that people that I've grown up with, kind of around the 30 mark, it seems to be when I notice or I've conversed with friends or people that feel that kind of a change or some kind of a maturing, or I don't know what it is.
A calling. It's an awakening and a calling.
Yeah, for want of a better... it is. It's kind of an establishing yourself. And I find it doesn't happen for everybody either.
No.
You know?
No.
And I think that's maybe what is quite scary about it. You might look around and think, well, hang on a minute, how come you're not questioning everything about yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Definitely. And I remember saying to Matt, my best friend, who was outside talking on the same day, and I was like looking up at the stars. I was like, just what's going on? Like, I was like, what's space? Like, what is this place? And he's like,
you're in deep, baby.
Yeah. And he was just like, I'm not bothered about space. Like, I'm bothered about what's going on here. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And I was
Have
like,
we got any more weed?
roll the joint, pack it. Definitely. But I mean, to be fair, I think that's probably what brought it on. And I knew I kind of needed to get away. And I just met Annie, and she just blew me away of just how great a human could be. And I explained to her, like, I feel like I need to get away. I don't feel me at the minute. And she just bought me a backpack and was just like, go.
Wow. Which
was amazing, because I said I wanted to go to Brazil. My friend Ben had been travelling to Brazil the year before, and he said, you should come to Brazil. So I went away, in 2012.
So when you meet Annie and you paint us the picture that Annie kind of blows your mind, you kind of got this feeling, it's all timing, you're questioning, you've got your own introspection going on, you're at a bit of a crossroads, you meet this girl that's got this energy that kind of tips you over. What about prior to Annie then, relationship-wise? Girlfriends, serious girlfriends?
Serious girlfriends.
Okay.
Always been in so deep, serious, in love, like, always as much as I could have
during
been.
the bands and everything. So
during the bands, though they always kind of did hinder the bands, I think, because your girlfriend starts to come to practice, and then you've got to leave practice early because you've got to go and meet the girlfriend at the bus station. Just things like that when you're younger.
Of course.
But first relationship seriously was when I was 14. That lasted about 4 years, and she was older.
That's a long time at your age.
Really.
So that's interesting. You say she's older. How old was she, Kieron?
She was 2 years older than me, so she was 16 and I was 14.
So you've definitely got
the older thing again.
And brings me back to you kind of having this epiphany, if you want to call it an epiphany, the crossroads, the awakening. At like 23, 24, you've been thinking, or you've been moving, you've been around that bit of an older mindset, that older environment. I don't know, maybe you've been expired, I don't know, who knows, but that's interesting, especially that way round when you're young. An older girl to a boy.
I mean, it didn't end well. She eventually found out that there are guys with cars and jobs and can go out. And I was there. You know what I mean?
But that was 4 years, do you say?
Yeah, I must have been like 3 or 4. Yeah, till I was 18. Yeah, till I was 18. Yeah,
wow. Got
my heart broken. She cheated on me a couple of times. And you do that, and you go into. You go really deep into that. It's such a big process.
That first heartbreak like that.
First heartbreak, man.
I mean,
it's trauma. It's such a trauma, man.
Yeah, I've like most people at our age now, you experience that. And so far during this conversation, you've expressed there's a depth to you, there's a meaning. You're really throwing yourself into whatever it is your endeavour is, aren't you? And I imagine in a relationship, in a loving environment, when you really mean it, when you really are committed to that, and then that rug gets pulled from underneath you. I mean, that is, at that age, impressionable, at 18, 20 years old. I mean, that is that's the first lesson of Earth.
Huge yeah, it is, man. Huge lesson.
You know, as a young adult,
It definitely.
welcome. This is where we are. You know, humans. You love this human. You know, the first human that you've loved, kind of outside of your blood family. You know, you've chosen this other human, and they've chosen you, and you know, it's more powerful in many ways, isn't it? Because
definitely, it's so new. I mean, I remember having my first kiss and running home like a little schoolgirl because I felt like I could run. I remember having the thought I could run forever. I felt so happy.
Beauty of it,
such a drug, like it really was. I could feel the endorphins running, and it was such a high.
And when that crashes down in the harsh reality of
rejection,
and I think the you know, the dishonesty of a cheating situation. And listen, this is not to knock an individual or a girl or a boy or anybody. This is all life. We're all learning lessons, and we're all making mistakes, and we have to experience these things. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that must have hit you hard.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely did. But then you learn times when you're younger. You learn, you know, as time goes on, you heal. And weirdly, I got into another serious relationship quite soon after that, which was again another 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And the same outcome happened, where she left me for someone else.
Right.
And that made me really go, something's wrong.
How did that feel second time? Was it as visceral in the same way, or does it have a different weight to it? How does that feel for a second time?
The territory was familiar. Mm-hmm. It wasn't deeper than it
You're
was.
a bit older now as well.
A bit older now, and like I've got a bit more of not a chip, because I think it's important to stay soft, but I definitely have a bit more of a thicker skin than when you. I think that's the thing when you're first. Heart on your sleeve, the world's incredible.
Oh God, yeah, we're going to be together forever.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you believe that? You mean that when you say that?
Yeah, definitely. So when that happened the second time, I was. The healing process didn't last it was. I got over it quite quickly, to be fair. You know, to keep busy, you start to count the days, you know, 1 night, 2 nights. And then after a couple of weeks, you're kind of okay. And you're like, I learned just to keep busy, really. But then I think that's when I kind of intrinsically kind of knew, you know, I needed to kind of change myself a little bit. So then when I met Annie, I was like, this girl is incredible. I mean, I think it was probably down to me being quite clingy as a youngster, maybe stemming from my parents getting a divorce and trying to enforce that.
Well, we didn't get into your dad as much, and we'll not go too deep now, but what was the relationship like with your dad? Were you like close with your dad? Was your dad taking you under the bonnet and this is how you do this, Kieron? And
yeah, I mean, I was always, from a young age, I was always going to his garage on a Saturday and rocking the steering when he's doing an MOT.
Yeah.
And like handbrake on, indicators.
Sitting on his lap driving around
down the track. He used to always put, great. He's really, really good dad. And particularly when mum and dad broke up, we did start to do a lot more things together, which was quite nice because when parents break up, what people who come from wholesome homes don't realise is, on a Sunday it's dad day. And the dad's kind of like, what am I going to do all day?
Yeah,
so
shit.
Like normally if you're in a normal home, it's not dad day, it's just a Sunday and you're with your family and it's just it's wholesome. So yeah, me and my dad used to play a lot of badminton together, used to do a lot of running together, shooting. My dad really is huge into like clay pigeon shooting, so we kind of did that as I was growing up quite a lot on Sundays. And
was he a soft man, a strong man, a talkative man like you? Was he energetic like you? Was he more insular?
He's gentle, gentle and soft. Thinks a lot. So
you've taken a lot from him as well, then.
I think so. More my mum. I think sometimes he sees a lot of my mum in me as well, which must be hard as well sometimes when you come from.
Of course,
it must be hard to see, your child like reflecting the person that you aren't with anymore. But no, I do. I mean, we are really close, and I've always known how important that is to be. I mean, he doesn't really get what I've done here. He doesn't understand what float tank. He still hasn't seen the tank. He's been around quite a few times, but he hasn't actually been in to kind of. He helped me put the skirting boards on, but he's quite practical, and
More practical than philosophical for your relationship, in the sense of what you feel comfortable kind of
definitely
being able to sort of flood in with.
Yeah,
and I feel like this, and this has happened, and
definitely. He's always trying to put, he's a typical lad in a way. You know, he's like, you need to bring him down a peg. Like, be realistic.
Yes.
Live within your means.
Yes.
I've not been like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think he doesn't resent as such, but I've always just been like, there's no ceiling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas he's grown up in a household, you work for what you get, and you pay your way, and it's kind of hard growing up in it's hard in any era growing up, but it's impossible to buy a house.
Well, it's interesting you say those two things, because they're two things as a young father myself, the work hard ethic, the reality ethic, I think is so important. I think more now than ever, because we do live in the everything now. The millennials, God bless them. Like everything, we've made everything so easy comparatively to what it once was. I don't know if you threw a paper bag on your back at 6:30 in the morning to go and get your £9.50 a week.
Mate, I didn't even get he docked me all the time.
But the balance that I feel that you're expressing is something that I'm actually trying to implement myself and my wife with our children. Is that, number one, you've got to be on solid ground. Solid ground. Hard work, earn it. Be mindful, be aware of your place and what you can offer. But as you said, there's no ceiling. And if you can marry those two things, and have the confidence, create the confidence to recognise, I can have a go at that. I will knock at this guy's door with my bass guitar. And two things happen. You're willing to do the work. And you're willing to walk through the door into the bunch of older guys and sort of wing it, that is a wonderful marriage, How we get to it, who knows? But that's something I'm really aware of with my children.
Yeah, I think as well, since becoming a dad recently, in the past few months.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Daddy Club.
Oh man, where have I been? It's great, but I can completely see why I would equip with I would be not hard. I would always be loving and always be endearing and listen, but set them up the right way and not be so airy-fairy. Do you know what I mean? And that make what you were saying, like my views have kind of changed quite a bit, and now I can empathically see why my dad has been the way he has with me, because he's like, we just want the best for your kids. You want them to do well. But he's we do have a good relationship.
So when you're at this crossroads again, this kind of awakening, sort of looking inside yourself, thinking maybe, am I too soft here? Am I letting these girls? How are you kind of breaking this down in your mind? And what makes you think, right, I'm looking at Annie, she's the one, and I've got to change? I
just needed to get away. I didn't know what it was at the time, but like I said, I went
somewhere new, a different environment.
I needed a different environment. I didn't go to university. A lot of my friends did. Growing up, I can't wait to get out of Lincoln. It's shit. And,
that's the old adage. I think everybody says that wherever they are, don't they?
They do. Yeah, it's a paradox. But everyone always comes back.
Yeah.
But I never felt the need to run away from it as such. I love it so much. I was at the Christmas market last night, and I was just like, this is lovely.
Have you ever read Paulo Coelho, The Alchemist?
I have. I read it in Alcudia last year.
There you go.
It's a beautiful book.
And that's the story, though, isn't it? It's like the idea that it's all out there.
You can control the wind,
but that you end up back here because this is all right. This is good,
Yeah, I've been meaning to read more of his. That's the only one I've read of his, but I know he's referenced loads.
There's a great Desert Island Disc for him, guys. If you're listening, if you listen to Desert Island Disc, check out Paulo Coelho on there. Really interesting guy. Stood up for a lot of rights in Brazil. He was wrongly arrested and imprisoned for a lot of his philosophy, really, for his way of thinking. He had a really strict father. Yeah, so check that out on Desert Island Disc. It's cracking podcast, yeah,
definitely.
But that book, when as you were saying that was what I was thinking. That whole, you have to go on the journey, to realise where you are.
Definitely. I mean, and I went to Brazil with my mate Ben. We went to Sao Paulo. We went to Rio. Went to Carnival. It was Carnival in Rio de Janeiro. And
That must have been a trip.
Wild, man. Terrifying.
I've never been to South America.
It was great. It was beautiful. I didn't go to the Amazon. I was kind of saving that, and I still haven't been there yet. But we just stayed on the coast, really. But we went for Carnival, and that was wild. But besides the madness and the partying, which we didn't do that much, it was quite tame. I just listened to loads of Ben Howard. I got really into Ben Howard. That's when I really got into Ben Howard's first album.
So the music's becoming that you're listening to is reflective of where you are in a way as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, Every Kingdom was a beautiful soundtrack to listen to when you're on the bus going through Brazil.
Staring
all that
out the window.
Self-realization, reflecting, looking at the depths of you, and then also I read Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and I can't remember how I stumbled on it. I can't remember how I stumbled on it, but no. It's a short book as well, isn't it?
Short book.
Yeah. And then I got the audio book as well when I was traveling, because I just sometimes think, this was before podcasts, like I didn't know but I was always very ignorant to I like books. But yeah, I listened to Eckhart Tolle as well, and the way he speaks as well is absolutely beautiful. But I remember being in Rio de Janeiro, looking up and just thinking, I was on this balcony, we were staying in this penthouse. Luckily, we managed to couch surf someone's house during Carnival weekend, because our couch surfers let us down as we arrived in Rio. And we were like, what are we going to do? And luckily, we managed to find this incredible penthouse with this woman just gladly took us in. And I just laid on the balcony all night, just listening to Eckhart Tolle. And it's always it's a memory that really, really etched in my psyche, because I remember looking up at the clouds like, oh my God, what am I doing here? What am I doing? And then as the clouds parted, just Christ the Redeemer was there.
Really?
Yeah. And it was too...
Yeah.
And within Eckhart's work, he uses God in the sense of awareness. Do you know what I mean? Like Christ consciousness and
universal kind of. Yeah.
Definitely not like the stigmatized.
The white man with a cane up there telling you, you know.
Yeah, but I remember that happening, and I was like, oh my God! And throughout the trip, I realized every beautiful view, it's all internal. Like every reaction you get to any view, anywhere you go, make me feel like it was worth it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I realised it's all inside. Like I'm happy. I've just made myself happy. Like it's my emotions that I need to control. And that was definitely when I came back. I only went for 2 months, but it was enough. It was enough. A lot of deep thinking and just I started writing a book, and this is hilarious.
You started writing a book?
It's just a joke. This is hilarious.
Like a journal, or fiction,
it's just the typical. I found my own spiritual journey, and I didn't think anyone had found that before. It was really arrogant of me, and I was like, oh my God, quantum entanglement, spirituality, I'm going to try and marry everything together in a book.
But in a strange way, Kieron, that's very similar to that feeling of the first heartbreak, where, you know, people are saying to you, look, it's going to be okay. You know, you are going to heal. Time's going to heal you. And you're like, nobody's felt like this before.
Yeah.
Nobody's felt like I feel now.
Definitely.
And then again with the epiphany, the kind of, wow. Yeah. The penny's dropping, everything's clicking. Like you say, I'm going to put this together. So you start writing a book. This is amazing.
Well, it wasn't a book. It was just a notepad. What it was, oh my God, like there's levels in string theory and multi-dimensions and spirituality and basically just the new age.
Yeah.
Then I got back, and then me and my mate Joe were just on the same sort of journey, and then we just kind of realised, we laughed about it a few years later, because we're like, oh my God, when like you go through the process of kind of self-awareness, you try and join all the dots together, and you realise thousands of people have done it before.
Yeah.
They've been here. They've done it. There's nothing special.
So at the time when this is happening, you're in Brazil. You're coming back from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we on the calendar? Are we 2000?
2012.
So a little bit.
13. 13. Like February. 13.
So is YouTube in swing at this point? Are you starting to find stuff in YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is where I kind of start to go down your rabbit holes. I think that's kind of where I found Alan Watts as well, through Eckhart, Tolle and Power of Now. Jumping into Alan Watts and some of his lectures, and I was really just sticking on YouTube all the time, like constantly at work, just leaving YouTube open, listening to audio all the time. I just wanted to soak it all up. And again, with Alan Watts and anyone that you speak to, particularly McKenna, because the way his syntax and the way he delivers his speech is so,
It's the transcendental object at the end of time.
But I'm just gonna drink this cup of tea.
But like what they have the ability to do as public speakers is, again, pull the rug from beneath your feet, and great Zen proverbs do that. You get that feeling of like,
that's truth, and it's in me, and I understand that, and I've known that in a way all the time.
Yeah.
But having somebody sort of frame it or somehow
just part the weeds for you for a second, like, oh, there you
Shit,
go, remember?
Yes.
So that's where I started to get that reaction from public speakers or like philosophy. I started to like just used to give me that feeling of just like completeness for only like a split second. But and this was before podcasts and everything. It wasn't before podcasts, but I was just ignorant.
For you, yeah. It's about, I think they're up and running at that point, aren't they? 2012, but they're not kind of.
I didn't know about podcasts. I was just listening to McKenna lectures for like 10 hours on YouTube and just things like that. And I came back from Brazil just very calm and collected, and then moved straight in with Annie because, as luck would have had it, her housemate had to move out, and she was like, I need a roommate.
So coming back to Annie then, so when you first set eyes on Annie, do we know at this point, is this on site? Is this like, that's the girl? Or, something happened when we met, and it was really strange. I mean, we did meet once before when she booked a gig with us for Midnight High to play at the Slug and Lettuce, but she had a boyfriend, I had a girlfriend. We were both very respectful of that, but we can't remember that encounter. But we met in, I hate to say it, Cubes. Oh, Cubes. Cubes is where my nightlife began. I once pitched a tent, just to sidetrack quickly here, just because there's a Lincoln classic sugar cubes for all the old school out there. I pitched a tent in my garden with my friend. We set up in the tent, said goodnight to everybody. We waited for the lights to go out, and then we shot downtown. And we went to Cubes when we were like, I think it might have even been 14, 15.
Really?
And I'll never forget getting back. And my mum came out.
Oh my God.
And she knew. And she went berserk.
She knew you'd been to Cubes.
Oh, I'm ringing your parents, Lee. This is, she went berserk.
Did she?
And I always remember thinking, oh shit, this is it, But yeah, sugar cubes.
Oh man. Yeah.
So you met in Cubes proper?
Yeah. I mean, we both, I was with the boy, I was with the band, and we just walked into Cubes as everyone did that time. But she was just with one of her friends, and we both looked at each other about, I don't know, 5 meters across the room, pointed at each other, and then both gave each other the finger.
On cue, kind of.
Yeah. It was super weird. It was super synced up, and we still talk about it now. And it was really strange, and we just danced together all night. And then this is good actually. It was in the wedding speech last year, but she's really classy. She wouldn't put out on the first night. I was awful.
Yeah,
I was
like a dog with two cops.
Yeah. She's like, God's sake, we'll go out for a meal or something. And I'm just like, oh no, can I come back to you?
How cool is that though? On reflection, how cool is she to just be, the decorum of a queen?
Oh, I haven't finished yet.
Okay.
But no, she was like, no, I said, I'll come back to yours. Cubes, Cubes was closing. It was about 3. The light was coming up. She lived down Monks Road. I lived on Yarborough Road. She said no, and I said, I'm travelling tomorrow. I'm going to Sweden for like 2 months. and just lied to her pretty much.
So you weren't going to Sweden?
No, not at all. It was awful. It was like
You really have changed at this point, Kieron, haven't you?
dude. Like, this was before Brazil, though. This was like 6 months before Brazil. But I was just like, I said that I was going to Sweden for a couple of months and we weren't going to see each other. And she was like, "Okay, come back." So,
good lad.
I woke up the next morning and she was like, "What time's your flight?" And I was like, I'm not going. And that was it.
And how did she take that?
She just laughed. I think she laughed and I laughed, and then
Awesome.
I stayed over the next night, and that was
lovely.
it. And
Lovely.
like, I've never lied like that ever. I'm not.
Well, in a way, though, I mean, you've no. But joking aside, you're already, this contemplation to leave and to travel and to go somewhere is in you anyway. At this point, isn't it? You're already
true.
So
I was talking about it anyway to people.
You're already you're just verbalizing what's in your mind and just sort of you've fast forwarded it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, we stayed. We were together for 2 or 3 months, and then I went to Brazil.
With her blessing, she hands you the bag. She says, "You need to do this. You need to go."
Oh no, she bought me a bag for Christmas. Yeah, she like bought me a massive rucksack, and my flight was in January, I think. And yeah, she was just like, "Go." And I think she was terrified because she knew that I was going through something, and she didn't really understand it. But she gave me the space, and that's what I found so amazing, because that is something that I could not do for someone. I did not have that humility to do that for someone.
And what about today? Now,
yeah,
and you've learned that. You've recognised that importance.
Space, let people have the time.
But it's easy for me to say that to you, though. But when you've been hurt in the way that you have a couple of times, that's a difficult thing to have confidence to do as well. To be able to, just stand back and let somebody,
just let it be, and let it happen. Definitely. That's one thing I've learned. That's one thing throughout my life that's been one of the hardest things to learn. Just letting people have space, and back to the float tank. It's giving people that space from people, from life, from their endeavours, from their thoughts. It's just that little separation, just so when you come back, you're more collected and connected to everything. But yeah, I definitely got that from Annie, and I'm sure with your wife as well. They're angels.
So Annie sort of sends you on your way with that trust and just, I guess, belief that you need to go off and travel, and you have that epiphany there, and then you come back and you've started journaling your ideas, and
that's when we started writing music together.
So then you start doing music together. And what were you called? Did you have a name for your little project?
Two of Mankind.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. We originally wanted, when I was in Brazil, we were talking, and she was like, we could do cruise ships because we could just travel.
Awesome. Yeah, couple up the skills with the
I mean, Annie could do that. She's a great pianist. I, however, am terrible at learning other people's songs.
I'm sure you could knock on the boat door and say, "Look,
come on, going to Sweden tomorrow."
I can pull something off here for you. Just trust me. Just give me a minute. I'll have it right.
But then I came back and we started demoing, and I bought an interface. I got a credit card. I didn't have any money. I just got a credit card, and I bought my interface and started properly home recording, and kind of for the first time ever, delving into my own creation. It was inside of me that I'd never accessed really. In my first band, I was playing bass with an older guys. The other band, I was in a metal band playing music I didn't like, and the third band, I was a drummer playing songs. So this was the first time I've kind of collected everything up, and we kind of started to compose together, and that really brought us closer. To be fair, it was
that's intimate. There's an intimacy there.
Definitely, it was beautiful, and it was really gentle, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a nice era of our life as well. Like, we lived on West Parade in Lincoln, which, for those of you who don't know, Lincoln West Parade is such a nice little help. At the time, it's quite student-y now, I think, but it was such a creative hub for the arts. That have like arts nights where people would just put projectors on their windows, and you could just walk around, and the place would just feel like a gallery. Every street would. It was really, really happening collectively with the community. And yeah, we just kind of...
So you guys are in love now. You're making music. You're feeling like you're sort of landing in your skin.
Yeah.
Annie's cool. She's enjoying what she's doing. You guys are building something.
Yeah, definitely.
And as we sort of weave towards today,
yeah,
we're now in your place, your lovely home in Spridlington, where you guys have both got businesses of your own, holistic-minded businesses.
Definitely.
How does that come around then?
The holistic side, we've always been interested in it. I mean, I think through spiritually as well, you start doing a lot of reading, and you know, you play through. I don't know. It's so woo woo. All the holistic stuff is, and in the UK right now, especially. But you realise there is a huge umbrella and there's a community there within like this town. People are there and people are resonating with that. But I really do think for people that normally go down the holistic road or want to pursue with that endeavour comes with a crisis. And like through crisis comes evolution. And that's something that Greg Braden, who is one of my favourite authors in spirituality, he said, me and my wife went, in 2015, we went to the Collective Consciousness conference in London. This had like a lot of public speakers, Wayne Dyer, Greg Braden, Linda Taggart, Teal Swan, and like just really, really great people that are just talking about spirituality and what to do with it and to harness it. And I remember Greg saying on stage, crisis comes, evolution comes through a crisis. You know, when any organism's pushed into a corner through diet or whatever, you've got a chance to evolve and grow. And that day that he said that, we came back to Lincoln, and on the journey back, we got a phone call that my mum was going to die, which was a huge shock. It was unexpected. It was tragic. It was a really, really strange time. It was hard.
So you're literally travelling back from this,
from this well-being collective consciousness.
And I guess that you're kind of you've gleaned some real confidence in like, okay, we're on a path and we're moving in this way, and it's going to be great, and we're going to implement this, and
definitely.
We're going to get stronger. And then you get a phone call.
Yeah, I get a phone call from my little sister saying, "Come back." Well, luckily, there's this guru who was talking on the last conference of the day. We decided to leave, luckily, about 1 o'clock. And I got a phone call at 2 o'clock on the tube as we were heading back to Cockfosters, the Northern Tube line where our car was. And my little sister just saying, "Come back, the doctor's on, it doesn't sound good." Basically, my mum had been quite ill with ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. My family have quite a history with bowel issues. My granddad had Crohn's. My older sister Amy has Crohn's. She's kind of sorted out that now. And my mum had quite bad ulcerative colitis at the time. She was in hospital a couple of weeks before, just getting very dehydrated. You know, she wasn't absorbing the nutrients that she should have been through the food, and was put on immunosuppressants a couple of months before she passed. Which can have a really bad effect on your liver. It's effectively immunosuppressants kind of stop all your antibodies from working, so the inflammation stops, because all inflammation is just, you know, your body trying to fight something.
Stress.
Yeah, that's definitely. And she took so much on, my mum did. She was a very stressed individual and very, very spiritual. She was really into magic.
Okay.
It always has been. That's one thing I did kind of leave out, but she was. That's when.
Well, I think we're going to be doing this again, aren't we? Because you've got some story, Kieron.
Yeah, she was very into magic as well, and thought about things very differently. Had her altar in her bedroom and did her cards a lot. And through my whole life, she, you know, I would be awake in my bed upstairs, and I would hear her laughing with her friends, and I'd come downstairs and the smell of burning would be happening. They'd be burning some paper or something, and just having a drink and having a laugh. But she was always very interested in that ritual sense. But anyway, she was quite depressed a couple of years before this tragedy, even though it had no correlation to the tragic accident that happened within hospital, because they took her for an emergency to take her colon out. really, because she was really struggling, not non-responsive.
Whoa.
Yeah, it came out of the blue. She just went in the week before she was in, because she had low fluids. And I've probably got it all wrong now, to be honest, because it's something that I do not think about that much, because it's just it's so jumbled. When you go through a trauma, it's just such a bit of a mishmash. But yeah, she was in just for like a check, really, just to see if we can get her fluids up. She got discharged the next day, and they didn't do a colonoscopy on her. And then 5 days later, she went back in worse. They couldn't stabilise her, so yeah, that night they took her in to take a colon out, and she just never came back. And that was it. So that right there was the for both of us, me and Annie and my whole family, was just such a huge crisis, and it was awful.
How old is your mum at that point?
51.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Bran.
Yeah, she was young, and I spoke to her the day before on the phone, and weirdly, it was really poignant. It was a really poignant conversation. It was quite short, because I was about to go in for this conference we were watching, and she was like, "You having a good time?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just about to see such and such." And she was like, "Oh, that's great." I said, "I'm feeling a bit crap." And I was like, "Oh, I love you, Mum." And I never say it to her, but I said, "I'm praying for you." And I'd never said that to her before in my life. And yeah, and that was the last thing I said to her.
Wow.
And that's why I'm so thankful, because she always enforced "I love you" at the end of every conversation, and we did that. And I'm so glad that we did that.
Yeah,
because some people have such bad, I've got
absolutely.
no, bad, I have no regrets of anything that I've said to her. But yeah, that phase of my life was the catalyst for us being here today. I mean, that was 4 years ago, just over 4 years. We both, Annie and me, really, really went down the healing route. We really got into our mindfulness. Well, once we kind of recovered from the trauma and trying to just carry on with life, I got pushed to some depths that was really, really challenging, and it scared me for the first time in my life. I'd never been that scared, mainly because maybe she wasn't here, and mother, the right God in the eyes of a child.
I can't imagine. How could I? The attachment of a mother and a child, no matter the adult,
Definitely.
There's no bond like it, is there?
No, definitely not. So I remember I had my first... Sorry, I'm not going on too long, am I?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I remember the night before a funeral, I was sat out here in the garden, just smoking so much hash, trying to get me through the month. Just didn't know what to do, self-medicating. And I had such a bad chest infection. Your body just plummets as well. That's the thing.
Of course,
grief, it's such a physical thing.
Yeah, the stress, it just goes through you. It rips through you. Your appetite, your circadian rhythms, everything just goes to mush.
Yeah. And it was such a heavy physical feeling. I didn't know an emotion could be that heavy. I felt like a lump in my chest. And yeah, I had my first panic attack outside in the garden on 24th of September 2015. And I've always been a very level guy. I've never not felt out of control. It was the first time my body and I felt like my hand, it was really strange, like my hands weren't mine. I completely detached from myself for a while. It was kind of like derealization, I think.
Do you think you were trying to do that in a way as well?
Yeah, like to get out. That's what I want in the dark days of grief. I just wanted out. I wasn't ever depressed or suicidal, but I wanted out. And people do say that who are quite suicidal, but I've never entertained that as an idea. But I just wanted it all to stop for a bit. And that first and then panic kind of happened the next couple of years, really. And it was such a big shake of my foundations of me. I was like, oh God, this is such a learning. And I was constantly reminded of what Greg Braden said, it's crisis comes evolution. And this was the biggest crisis we ever went through. So my wife, we both did our Reiki courses together, and we did Reiki on each other every day for about 2 years. Just to practice on each other and to learn where our blockages were, learn where talk and vent about everything.
I was going to say that excuse me, that communion, I would imagine that brings. So not only are you learning this knowledge and integrating this knowledge into yourselves, but doing it together, and the communion of that binding quality of that as well for you at that time must have been...
Definitely. I mean, people always, what I've heard from some people is they push their partners away. It was the opposite.
Course,
like
yeah.
we really, it gave us such a bond, and it really, really kind of makes you who you are. And that's what really was the catalyst for our endeavour where we are here today. Like now, this is like Annie's therapy room. It's the reception, and I decided to open Go Deep because I did my first float last year in Bali. I mean, it was only a year ago. A lot of people who start centre are normally floating for a few years, but
you being a bit of a...
all or nothing.
Yeah, let's just get it done. Let's crack on. There it is again.
Like.
There it is again.
There's
that 11-year-old at the door with the bass. It's such a state-of-the-art isopod.
Yeah, it was after my first float. I felt level, and I felt amazing. I felt this could help.
Did you know? So you were in Bali. Was this on your honeymoon?
Yeah.
So you're on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
You guys are obviously, I guess, in a blissful mind.
Yeah.
You're in Bali.
It's great.
Did you know about the tank?
Yeah.
Did you have some insight prior to?
To my, I think a few years ago, before I'd heard about flotation therapy, when I was kind of reading into like the counterculture of the 60s. So you get
John Lilly and...
Yeah, John Lilly, Tim Leary, Ram Dass, they were kind of all friends. Like Ram Dass and Leary used to go into, Ram Dass and Leary used to go into Lily's house. They all kind of entertained the same thoughts. And I did read a little bit, and I was really interested in the concept of flotation and sensory deprivation. Because why I loved it so much was because, with Leary kind of promoting and being the catalyst of the counterculture with LSD and heightening your senses and awakening your senses. With flotation, you're subtracting everything. You're taking all your natural senses away for an hour or however long you do, and you're coming back. And that re-entry back into the world is a high, back to normality. And I just liked how that seemed quite appealing. So did you know that there was a pod where you were going? Did you kind of build that in, or was it kind of synchronistic in the sense that, it was weird. Yeah, I was in Bali. I was like, I'm in probably the most zenest place in the world right now. And I was looking at calm water flotation in Nottingham, planning to book...
Big shout, Nick Parr, by the way, friend of mine. That's where I first floated at calm water. Great guy, wonderful, yeah, cool.
I was looking at their place on the toilet in Bali in this beautiful valley, and I was like, wait a minute, why am I looking at a flotation centre like in England? I'm in Bali, there's got to be one. Googled it, there was one like half a mile away. Ubud Float Garden. It was great. I mean, I didn't get a very good induction. They just gave me the earplugs and said, crack on. And it was a samadhi, so it was like kind of the coffin looking ones.
They're a bit more intimidating. Because yours for listeners is an isopod, which is basically the cream of the crop. It's a beautiful kind of smooth round design. Almost looks like a
it's like a spaceship clog.
Like a spaceship clog, like a moon buggy. Like got this kind of really delicate lines. It's really inviting.
It's beautiful. And I did my float in a samadhi, and the idea to start a centre was already there before I floated. Like there was a seed, because for some reason I just have felt this pull to it, because I thought it sounds great. And my first float was just really busy. It was, by the time I'd had my first float, I got the name, how I needed to do it, how it would work, and just it was exhausting. I came out not that. I mean, I did love the therapy. I saw that it could really help, but I just had these ideas.
Is this during the float, or is this post float?
It was during the float. It was like I saw the. I didn't see that logo behind you, but the name was there, and just how it would work, and doing it here, and just how it would all work.
Falling into place.
Yeah, it was really strange. And I was kind of sold then, really. And then it took about a year of planning, trying to get funding from.
So did you float again on your return to the UK? Did you?
No.
No,
This is weird thing.
You are that guy, aren't you? That's just like, I'm doing this, and that is that.
I should have gone to. A lot of people go to calm water. I think I might have even said to you, I'm very careful what I don't want people to think that I'm a bit of a cowboy with it, but I didn't float for over a year until I got the pod in here, and it was very much, that first float was great, but I was like, maybe I should have given that again.
Well, I think it's testament to the calling, as we want to call it, I guess, is, you just knew. Because to do what you've done is not an easy thing. There's a setup here that has to be in place. There's health and safety, there's ventilation, there's a whole. I mean, this is what you've done here. This space, if I can describe it somewhat, is kind of your place is kind of a almost farmhouse-like. You've got your house at the front, and you've got these lovely brick off buildings at the back.
They're old stables. These two. This building is. There
you go. So, and you've done it beautifully. It's. The room's decked out. You've got the wet room floor, so it's open shower. You've done a cracking job off the back of a float. You just needed to do it, didn't you? Clearly,
I needed to do it. And I haven't mentioned as well, but also I'm a heating engineer. I'm a plumber. Mm-hmm. I've been a plumber for 10, 12 years, and been in the building trade, and been on site. So I kind of knew how to do it. Mm-hmm. And as luck would have it, I got some inheritance from my mum, which then helped do this. So in a way, it's kind of like our biggest the customers that come through are kind of middle-aged ladies that are on antidepressants that want to get off it and find relief.
Do you know, that's a lovely thing to hear that, because I'm never sure of who's floating.
Yeah, no one is. That's the beauty of it.
I'm never sure of it. I mean, as we mentioned before, Calm Water that you mentioned, Nick Parr, the guys over there, that's where I began floating. And that would have been probably 2012 or 13, somewhere around there. And similar to you, I came across John Lilly and Leary, and the catalyst for me was actually Joe Rogan.
Yes.
I listened to an episode of the Rogan podcast, and he was just...
Oh, I mean, he has been...
adamant that this thing was like... And I just thought, I've got to do that. If that does... I mean, he's like a 7-minute rant about, listen, this thing is going to change your world. And I thought, I've got to find it. Same thing, I Googled it, and I was like, oh, it's up the road in Nottingham. And what I did find was, as I have done with you, Kieron, is that Nick was just this beautiful, cracking guy.
Hang on a sec.
Should we
let me just stop the session.
I think someone's floating. We'll pause.
Let me just cancel the float, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, we're back. We just had a quick pause there because while we were discussing the wonder of the float tank, it struck up in the background there. So we are back. Get back comfortable. So yeah, I was talking about Nick at Calm Water, and what a cracking guy I came across. And again, a musical background. He actually taught Access to Music in one of the boroughs in London.
Did he
really? He actually taught Dizzy Rascal.
No way.
And
That's
so
amazing.
I do my first float, and I come out, and I had a great first float actually.
Okay.
And I came out straight away, kind of like with that, just the universal gleam. That's what I call it. Everything I looked at, I was just
post-float glow.
Yeah, just the positivity. I was just looking for smiles, sending smiles, and talking with Nick, and it became a chat about how we've ended up here. And I remember saying to him, because he had a book on the side where people would maybe write about the float, or it was my first float, my 10th float, and it was great, this happened, that happened, and saying to him, who does float, who is floating, because he's got, I think he had 2 pods up there at the time. Mm-hmm. And he went through a whole list, and I knew that the sports teams, the England cricket team are using it up there, and a lot of athletes. Mm-hmm. But he said as well, a lot of people who are just trying to find the space in their mind. But it was always a bit of a variation. So it's interesting to hear you say that people are recognising. I guess that's some years ago now. I mean, it's 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the YouTube boom and the whole kind of social media now, the amount of information that's moving, and the science that's happening. Mm-hmm. And again, Rogan talking how he has done, they've been popping up everywhere, Rogan, the float labs.
Rogan is the catalyst for or
the wider.
Yeah, I'm starting a CBD brand next month, down to Brogan really, because a lot of CBD companies target float centres because they know that comes hand in hand.
Of course.
People are interested in it. I must have had about 5 CBD companies call me the past couple of months.
Really?
Yeah, that want to get on board, which is great, but it's kind of like everyone's got their own little Rogan beacon.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and like, much like music, everybody wants to say they saw, Kings of Leon when it was, before Sex on Fire.
Yeah, he had long hair.
But the thing is, I mean, Rogan himself, he's just at the forefront of this thing, of just talking, without censorship, without agenda, just talking. Yeah. And it so happens, like yourself, he's quite a character who sort of puts himself into something and destroys it. And
oh my God,
inside out, rinses it, and the floating was something that, and let's have it right, the guy's, he's a bit of a brute, he likes to do his martial arts and, and he crosses that, he's that crossover, I think. You've mentioned a couple of times, when we mention spirituality or being holistic, it's kind of a bit woo. And a guy like Rogan, can connect he can connect that way of thinking. It's felt like with the float, he's made it appealing to somebody like me.
Definitely.
You know, I'm a lad's lad who's got,
he sells it.
And I thought, well, I've got to try that.
Yeah.
Man, if I can try that. So again, coming back to you saying there, that now, some years later, you've got middle-aged ladies who are maybe suffering with, postnatal depression or whatever it may be, that have got that knowledge, now understand that this thing's really useful and helpful.
Yeah, and I'd
love to hear that.
Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful, man. And it's something that I really didn't even think about, to be honest. I was genuinely expecting, athletes, people who do triathlons. One big thing, actually, is business owners. We have a lot of people who are really busy. They've only got like an hour spare a week, and this is their downtime. Much like you as well. You're busy. You run a business. You've got a house full of kids. You run such a full, wholesome, beautiful life that it's precious, that time, and it's important to recalibrate. And people, when they start returning, they do feel the benefits that they can get out of it. But it's beautiful from my point of view, because I feel like in a really strange way, I'm kind of healing my mum. Whenever I get someone who's about 40 or 50 coming through and they're struggling a bit, they've got a bit of anxiety.
Makes perfect sense.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a nice full, in my head, it's like a nice full turn. Like they leave really happy. It makes me feel good. It feels like that's someone's mum that's going to feel better.
And your mum's watching it all happen.
Yeah. Singing away.
Yeah. Gotcha. Rattling the glass from the heavens.
Yeah, man.
That's
for
amazing.
sure.
Well,
but it's
I think that is a beautiful place to bring this home.
Yeah.
What a beautiful full circle that is, Kieron.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for this today. It's been really
this
nice.
has been amazing, and we're going to come back and do this again, because I know in the short time that I've known you, I know there's a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah, it's a lot more for us to talk about.
We will pick this up, but what a lovely full circle ending that was. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for you, man.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Chew the Chat podcast.
Thank you for listening for Chew the Cat podcast.
Chew the cat.
I want to say my own words.
Go on then.
Very angry.
Well, how sweet and lovely and personable is Kieron. What a lovely lad. He's one of those people who just makes me want to work harder at being nicer. Do excuse that episode. I'd used some quite strong CBD oil and then done a 90-minute float, and it was actually the first episode that we did. And I was a bit excited and a little bit spaced, and so I was a bit eager, but really enjoyed it. And as you can hear there, Kieron's journey, he's such a sweet lad. That's why I wanted to choose the track that I did, the track now at the beginning, because I think when that track kicks in, knowing what you know now about the bands he was in and the music that he's played, the variations of the styles and everything, I think it really captures that. But more so is just his energy. When you meet Kieron and you've just heard him there, he's just so sweet and lovely. But to hear that power and that there's a real edge to that tune, and I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to when he announces that he's going to release some stuff, because he has got music to release, and it's come from somewhere deep. Go deep. So thanks ever so much, Kieron. That was amazing. Sponsors. We'll thank sponsors. We should also thank Pod Bible. I didn't get to it in the last intro because I was blabbing, and I don't want to do that this week. So big thanks to Pod Bible. We went down to the Issue 7 launch party at the King's Place in London, and we met all the team. Stu Whiffin and I Am Ad and Scroobius Pip and Brett Goldstein, and just wonderful, lovely people. Gail Porter, who gave me a lovely warm cuddle and lovely words of encouragement. That was really nice. So that was fantastic. Pod Bible are right behind us. They've just shared a feature this week at the time of recording. We've just had an interview feature go out on their blog post. You can get that at podbiblemag.com. We'll be sharing it on our socials as well, but they were just asking us questions about this podcast and the inspirations behind it and what do we think about where the industry's going and so on. So it's interesting. Thanks again to Pod Bible. Check them out, get over, read the magazines, find yourself some magical new podcasts. Podbiblemag.com. Sponsors, obviously Go Deep. I don't need to say too much at this point. I think Kieron nailed it at the end there. It's a wonderful thing, and he's obviously a lovely person, so give him a call, hit the website, 10% off when you use the code CHEW, and bring that into your life. I promise you, you won't regret it. It's a busy, crazy digital life we are living, and to get in there is wonderful. Also, our other sponsors, Cryolab, lincolncryolab.co.uk. Again, a wonderful, wonderful addition to feeling good and staying strong and staying healthy. 3 minutes in minus 145 degrees, and you're going to boost your body. You're going to send your blood into your core. It's going to think it's all over. It's going to go straight to your vital organs, and you're going to have to bite down, and you'll get through it in 3 minutes. It zooms by and you have a weird sensation, and then you'll step out and that blood recirculates in your body, and it's recharged, supercharged blood. It's fantastic, and you will feel great, and you will feel a bit weird at first. You're going to want to lay down. You're going to want to run fast. You're going to want to, expend energy, but it's some trip. So lincolncryolab.co.uk for the cryotherapy, a 3-minute jaunt, 10% off with the code word CHEW. Go and find the guys at Function First Academy down on Dixon Street in Lincoln if you're local. But it's worth travelling, like I say, athletes and many people are travelling far and wide to get to use this kind of a facility, which is normally, only available in the big sports development centres and institutions. So yeah, we're really lucky, especially to have that here. So get yourself over 10%, lincolncryolab.co.uk. Okay, next episode's guest, I should say, is Miss Saskia Shule. She is a Swiss yoga teacher who teaches at Hot Pod Yoga as well as various projects of her own. She's a travelling energy machine of positivity and just warmth. And I think you're going to love that episode. She's got a parent from South Africa and family in South Africa. Grew up in a little village in Switzerland, and then went on a pilgrimage to Bali and ended up in the UK. And it's a really lovely story, and she's such a warm presence with lots of wisdom and just the good stuff to share. So that'll be in 2 weeks' time. So take care of yourself, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Tell a friend, share a link, spread the love. Let's build this gang up. Really appreciate it. Take care. See you next time. Peace.